Now that you know how geospatial datasets are stored on your computer, let's see what the data they contain look like. This next section will introduce you to QGIS Desktop. To open QGIS Desktop in Windows 7, click Start, All Programs, QGIS 2.14, QGIS Desktop. QGIS Desktop is the application you will use for making maps, editing data, and doing GIS analysis among many other operations. QGIS Desktop has two main sections, the Layers panel, over here on the left, and the Map window on the right. By default, the QGIS interface is a little cluttered, so let's close a few panels so we just see the Layers panel and the Map window. So over on the left, I'll find Shortest Path, and I'll click the X to close that. And for the Browser panel, I'll click the X to close that. Note that panels can be docked or floating. To make a panel floating, I can click on the title bar, and as I drag it out and release, you'll see that it's floating around. To redock it, if I bring it to the left or the right side of QGIS and then release the mouse button, it will dock that panel. So let's add a vector layer to QGIS. And there's two ways to do this. I can either, one, on the left, click Add Vector Layer, or I can click Layer, Add Vector Layer. Here I'm going to select File as the type, and I'm going to click Browse. I'm going to browse to my lab data folder, and let's choose Hawaii Counties.shape. Now you may see more files if all files is selected as your filter. So to make sure you're selecting the correct file, choose as reshape files in this case, and now it's much easier for me to find the file type that I want. When I click Open, it takes me back to the Add Vector Layer window. I'll click Open one more time, and you can see on the left, Hawaii County shows up in the Layers panel, and I can see it on the right. Let's examine the attributes. To do that, in the Layers panel, right-click on the layer, and then choose Open Attribute Table. When the attribute table opens, it shows us at the top how many features there are in total, in this case 9. We can also see that there are 4 columns of information, and each column contains the attributes for each record, and each row represents one record. There's another way for us to view the attributes. To do that, first I'm going to close the attribute table, and then I'm going to find the Identify tool, and I'm going to click that to select it. And now you can see my mouse cursor has a little eye next to it. So I'm going to click on one of the islands, and when I do that, the Identify Results window or panel opens, and it may either be once again floating or it could be docked. And you can see that it shows me all of the attributes for the item that I identified. Now that we've added a vector, now let's add a raster. So to do that, I'm going to click either the Add Raster button on the left, or Layer, Add Raster Layer. On this window, I'm going to choose my lab folder. I'm going to make sure that I choose, in this case, I'm looking for an ERDOS JPEG 2000 format, so I'm going to select that as the filter. And I'm going to select the Oahu Landsat 15M file and click Open. Now that dataset only covers a portion of Hawaii, just the island of Oahu. So to zoom in, I'm going to right-click on the Oahu Landsat image in the Layers panel and choose Zoom to Layer, and that zooms in really close for me. Alright, so let's add a second raster. So I'm going to click the Add Raster button, and this time I'm going to choose the Esri. Let's see here. No, it's in. I'm sorry, not the Esri. The ARC info binary grid format. And I'm going to enter the Hill OAH folder, and I'm going to choose hdr.adf. And I'm going to click Open. And you can see that that adds another raster onto my Layers panel. Now, so far we've been using the Add Vector Layer button and the Add Raster Layer button QGIS Desktop also has a browser panel that will allow us to view geospatial files on our computer without having to open QGIS Browser. So to view that panel, I have a few ways to do it. I can either right-click anywhere in the gray area, say to the right of Help, and I can see a list of all the panels that are available to open. I could choose the browser panel to turn it on. The other way to turn on the browser panel would be to click View, Panels, and here again you can see all the panels that are available. I'll once again check the browser panel. To make the browser panel larger, if I put my mouse between two panels, I can click and drag to make it larger. So inside the browser panel, note that there's a Favorites item. Anything that we identify as a favorite will actually show up here. So data is often stored deep inside of a series of folders, and it's often tedious and time-consuming to navigate deep inside the folders to gain access to the data. A favorite provides a way to create a shortcut directly to any folder so that we have a one-click access to that folder. So let's create a folder to our lab folder, a favorite to our lab folder for practice. So I'm going to navigate to our lab folder. So here I happen to have it open, C, GST 101, Lab 2 Data. And I'm going to right-click on that, and I'm going to choose Add as Favorite. And so now you can see in my Favorites area, I have a link directly to my Lab 2 Data folder, and then I can go from there. So this way I can very quickly and easily go directly to that data. And lastly, now that I have the Browsers panel open, I can add data directly to the map by dragging from the Browser panel into either the Layers panel or onto the map. And when I do that, you can see that it is added both to the layers and to the map.